right, ladies and gentlemen, let's look at the the money, principles of money here. When we grasp this, we've already started looking at the Federal Reserve, but when we grasp this idea of money and how it happens and what it does, we have a better understanding of how a bank is going to deal with money as we look at it overall. So we're going to look at a few slides, I'm going to look at little graphs and see if we can describe this to you. So the first thing I want you to see is that there's a monetary theory. And what that means is if if we put more money into the economy will grow. If we take money out of the economy will shrink. Think of it as a balloon. If we take a balloon, we can blow that balloon up and there's more into it. Or we can take the air out of it and there's less into it. So that's our monetary theory. So our idea is that we're going to try to increase the economy by making certain activities are putting more money into the economy, and it's not taken away. Now, the same is true that if we take money out, that we'll decrease those things and it'll go right in reverse. So let's see if we can look at that in a more specific way. So we have the central banking system that we already talked about, the Federal Reserve, and they are not, they're monitoring the economy overall. And so when they see that the economy is going down, meaning it's not growing, unemployment is rising, inflation is rising, then they're going to figure out a way to inject some more money into the economy. They do that by lowering the interest rate. And when they lower the interest rate, and that's the interest rate that banks lend to each other, when they lower that interest rate, then more banks will borrow, more people will borrow, and that means when more people are borrowing from the banks, that means that more money is being spent. When more money is being spent, then that's going to increase the economy. Let's see if we can look at it in this way. I created a little form here. Pardon me. So let's look here. So imagine that business has got money. So when business gets money, then what happens is they're going to invest that more money into hiring new employees. That means jobs. That means our unemployment rate is going to go down because they're putting more money in to hire new people, or they're building new buildings. That also hires new people, new factories and all that, because we have to have more people to build those factories, so those companies are hiring new people. Or they're launching a whole new product, and that means new product development and all of the people that's needed to launch a new product and to build it. And so all of these, when business has money coming in, they will hire, they will build, or they will launch, or they will do all of those things. Now, when they do that, that means that people are getting more money. People are making more money because they're getting paid. They're getting there are more jobs. If more people are spending money, they're going to be spending it on products and services, going out to eat, buying a new iPad, a new phone, new shoes, and all that. Well, if they're spending it on products and services, that means they're buying these things, but these things are being made by businesses and sold by businesses. And that means there's more money in the economy. So if more money comes to them, they hire, they build, they launch, more people get money, and it just becomes this growing circle building up on each other as the economy goes up. The same is true if I did this in reverse. If people don't have money, they're not getting as many jobs because of that. And it's because business doesn't have as much money because the people aren't buying it. And so what happens is this thing goes then in reverse. People will get more money, they're just not spending it. And if they're not spending it, the businesses aren't getting more money, so they're not hiring, they're not building. And if that's the case, they're not buying the products, and if they're not products, They're not making more products. And so the economy goes down. And that means there's less money in the economy. And so the Federal Reserve has the responsibility of kind of controlling that. When the economy is growing, but it's growing too fast, sometimes they'll raise the interest rate to kind of slow it down, because if it runs too fast, it will outspend itself. And when it does that, there's a lot more product out there than the economy can buy. And when that happens, now the value of that drops. So it's not worth as much. That means less money in the economy, and it changes that whole scene. So the Fed will go out and buy or sell bonds to control the economy, to either put more money in, take more money out, and by doing that, that changes the interest rate. So that's the that is what it's talking about here, the monetary policy for sustaining the growth of the economy. When we look at that in this way, the Federal Reserve has that responsibility. They meet together, the Board of Governors meets together. They're constantly staying in touch with the 12 regions and trying to grow each region's economy to help that. Now, here's some things that they focus on in the monetary policy is to maintain a stable price. Now, in class, I took a balloon. I said, this balloon is worth $1. Let's say the balloon's worth $1. If I blow it up, it looks bigger, but it's still the same balloon. That is inflation. They're going to charge more for that same balloon than the dollar. So now the balloon's worth $2. It's not because something's done with it. It's just inflated. It's larger. But by inflation, what it means is that dollar balloon is now, you have to pay $2 for it. Well, inflation then means I'm having to spend more money on a product that I was buying cheaper before. That means I have less money to spend. That slows our economy. Less money to spend means less hiring going on, and less hiring going on means less products being made. Less products being made means less people are getting paid. It just begins to spiral down like a whirlpool. And so the federal monetary policy is to watch that inflation and try to keep it stable. If it starts to go down, they try to do something to interject in that economy to decrease the inflation. They also try to keep a steady gross domestic product, which is called GDP. And the gross GDP is the amount of products that are produced and sold from the United States. That doesn't have to be just in the United States. It's an American company, what they've produced, all the American companies, what they produced. So that is our GDP. Now, there are two types of policy. We have the expansionary policy, and that means that we're increasing that money supply. That's this thing we looked at a minute ago. This is this is exactly what I was just saying. That's the economy of expansion, where there's low unemployment, more people are buying. There's good borrowing going on that's being paid back. Now, contractionary is just the opposite. It's a slow rate of growth. We're not getting a lot of growth. Our money supply is small or decreasing, and so that's really controlling it. All right? Well, our fiscal policy is just how the United States keeps up with and watches the economy. So don't sweat about that slide. The next one is what I just described to you is Keynesian economics, and that's the idea of curbing inflation and employment increasing and money. So that's what I've been teaching about. The next one is currencies. Now, in currencies, there's lots of different types of currency. We already looked at that, American bills, but every country has its own currency. And like if you've traveled any place else in the world, or to Mexico, any place else, they have their own currency. Well, it's not worth $1 if their economy is weaker than ours. then the dollar is worth more than theirs. Give you an example, the peso. It takes 20 pesos to buy a dollar, or $1 will buy 20 pesos. That's not a one-to-one. That means the Mexican economy is weaker than the American economy. And so, because they're not together. There are some economies that are stronger than the American economy. That would be Britain. England has their economy is just a little bit larger than ours, or a little bit stronger than ours, because they're a little more conservative. And so is the Europe overall. Their economy is a little stronger, not consistent, but a little stronger than ours. So the euro is worth a little more than ours. All right, so that's going to be our currency. Our exchange rate is what you have to pay for that. So what you have to pay for that is the exchange rate. And there are times when we are out buying other currencies because we know the exchange rate's we're going to be able to buy more of that and take advantage of it. So that's what that all is about, the exchange rate. Okay, I think we're gonna stop there, and that should be the end of the notes that we took for 825 on financial policy. All right, thanks. We will pick up on another section later. Have a great afternoon.